Hello everyone, Daniel Yuck here with Daniel Yuck Tattoos. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it. I want to go ahead and I want to take some time within this video right here to do as best I can and explain on how to create a tattoo stencil with an iPad. So let's just dive straight into this. I am going to be using Procreate, and then I have a design here for the sake of time within this video already mapped out. Now, I use my specific tattoo brushes that I created within Procreate. I'm still finalizing and developing them, so bear with me. But this specific liner pack is created for tattooing and creating tattoo stencils. So I am going to go ahead and be releasing that for free. So bear with me again as I finalize all the details on these. And I'm going to go ahead and release that publicly for you all 100% free. On this specific tattoo right here, I use the Yuck pen. As you can see, it has some nice tapers there, so that way I can see that within my details, and I know that's the way that I want it to shape out upon applying the tattoo to the skin. And I use the fine point pencil for my shading guides there. As you can see, there's little dotted lines everywhere, and I use that fine point pencil. And together I made this, or I mapped out this little design here. Now, the reason why it's red will vary. Every design you do, sometimes you may want to use red, sometimes you may want to use a black. It just depends. So let's say, for example, this design came from a really black with dense black shading, and it was already, you know, a full drawing there. Let's say if someone brought you that, then you're going to want to go ahead and go with something light to kind of map out the design as best you can and see it along your way. Because if you're putting more black on black, then it's going to be very, very difficult to get your way through, let alone find all the details. So I went ahead and I used a red going over a black design. Let's say if a client brings you in an actual, like, let's say an image of a rose that was actually taken of a rose, like from a photographer or something, and it has like a filter and it's very, very bright and it's realistic. At that point, you may want to go with like maybe a really, really dark purple, even straight black. The point is, you're going to want to change your colors, whatever it's best to see to create that design, because you always got to keep in mind these specific lines is what's going to go on the skin. So what you're putting down is very, very important in my opinion here, or actually it really is. It's not opinion. Like, the lines that you're making out in the specific design are going to translate. So that's the reason why I chose red. Before I basically go ahead and start exporting my design, and this is going to want to go back to a black, because that is what's going to read within the printer here that we're going to use, and I'm going to show you on demonstrate. Let's say if someone brought you that, then you're going to want to go ahead and go with something light to kind of map out the design as best you can and see it along your way. Because if you're putting more black on black, then it's going to be very, very difficult to get your way through, let alone find all the details. So I went ahead and I used a red going over a black design. Let's say if a client brings you in an actual, like, let's say an image of a rose that was actually taken of a rose, like from a photographer or something, and it has like a filter and it's very, very bright and it's realistic. At that point, you may want to go with like maybe a really, really dark purple, even straight black. The point is, you're going to want to change your colors, whatever it's best to see to create that design, because you always got to keep in mind these specific lines is what's going to go on the skin. So what you're putting down is very, very important in my opinion here, or actually it really is. It's not opinion. Like, the lines that you're making out in the specific design are going to translate. So that's the reason why I chose red. Before I basically go ahead and start exporting my design, and this is going to want to go back to a black, because that is what's going to read within the printer here that we're going to use, and I'm going to show you on demonstrate. So you're going to want to go ahead and make sure you're selected on the layer, and then you're going to want to go ahead and select this little tool right up here in the top corner. You're going to want to hit hue and saturation, and then you're going to want to go ahead and select layer. From this point forward, you're going to want to go ahead and select the brightness, change that all the way down to 1%, or none. Actually, go down to none, and then that is it. You are now ready to go ahead and basically send this to the printer to be printed. Please keep in mind though, if your tattoo consists of, let's say, numbers or letters, or if it's supposed to face a certain way, if it's supposed to have a specific orientation, keep that in mind as well. That can be flipped within here. You can either go in here and flip the layer, or you can go ahead and do that from the camera roll. Typically, when I need to flip the orientation, I'll go ahead and do that just right from the camera roll. It's just because for me personally, I feel it's easier to each their own. You can just do it right from here as well. But keep that in mind as well, because that is very, very important. If you don't flip it when you print the stencil, it's going to be backwards, and you're going to have to go ahead and reprint it again, which is kind of what you don't want to do. So make sure that is correct off the jump, and then you won't have that problem. Make sure your orientation is correct. I'll say it one last time. Now, from this point forward, we are basically now ready to export. So what you're going to want to go ahead and do is select that wrench, select the share tab right here, and then select it as a PNG. export it, and then you're gonna wanna go ahead and select save image. Now we're gonna go ahead and get the printer set up, and then we're gonna go ahead and show you all how to actually pair and print this here stencil onto an actual paper. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so now we're set up here and ready to go ahead and pair and print. Before we go ahead and do that, I just want to go ahead and point out that this is one of many ways to go ahead and get a tattoo stencil done. This is just the way that I do it. This is the way that I like to go about it. It's easier on my hand, it's better for my eyes, and it's just all around for me as a tattooist, my approach. So this is not by any means right or wrong. This is just basically one of also many ways that you can create a stencil on the iPad. So for this specific video, we're going to be using this specific tattoo printer. You are going to need a tattoo printer of some sort to go ahead and do this. You can either go ahead and send this to like a paper, you know, a regular paper, and then get that paper and draw it into the actual tattoo stencil paper, which is kind of the old school original way. That's one way to do it. But for this one, I'm going to go ahead and cover how to actually print it without us having to draw it on there again. So what I want to go ahead and do is I want to basically pair these up. So we're going to go ahead and fire this up right here. So after you go ahead and turn it on, what you're going to want to go ahead and do is go into the settings of your iPad, and then you're going to want to go ahead and connect to the printer right here. As you can see, it says TOEIC, which is the name of the printer. You're going to want to go ahead and basically connect to that. There's a little Wi-Fi signal up here. What you're going to want to go ahead and do is launch the application that you download for this specific stencil printer. And then basically you're going to want to go ahead and hit search before you print. I like to go ahead and check that to double confirm that it is paired. So it is now paired and ready to go. The pairing for this specific device and this printer is very, very seamless and easy. I'm going to go ahead and do a whole entire review on the paper that I'm using and on this specific printer as well, and on the iPad. But for this specific video, I'm trying to get my point across on the process on how to create a stencil on the iPad. So now we're going to go ahead and remove the little hemp paper that's in between here. We don't need that here. And then you're going to want to go ahead and get the stencil paper and put it face down with the yellow side up right here in the row, and you're going to want to line it up as best you can and make sure that it's straight across like that. So once you feed it through, you're basically ready to go ahead and select your design, which is going to be this one right here. Now it is a simple, I guess, a click away. You just want to hit print. It's going to do its thing. I'm going to hold it above so it doesn't run into the iPad there. I'm going to let it go. And then from this point forward, you just want to be patient. Let it go ahead and run its process. Let it do its thing. The specific liners that I chose to use are the ones that I'm developing. They're really saturated lines, really, so I guess the saturation is important. Like the Yuck pen, it's a really dense saturated brush there, so that way when you do your lines, the transfer is really, really apparent. I need a dark transfer, a good stencil to follow when I do tattoos, or I won't do it. So this part right here, like how you create the stencil, is very, very important as well, because once you get the stencil on there properly with the lines apparent and you can read it correctly the way that you need, then it's home free from there. You just gotta put the lines in correctly and take your time. And we're almost done here. And it's done here. Let's go ahead and reveal. And there you all have it. As you can see, it came out really, really nice. The lines are really, really bold. And these are with the custom liners that I'm working on for you all. And there's the stencil. It's a perfect stencil, and we're ready to place this. Actually a big size stencil here. It's the size of the entire paper. But as you can see, you all have it. I mean, we transferred a specific design that we followed, that we created or did on the iPad. We sent it to this printer and we made it into a tattoo stencil. I'm gonna go ahead and put this on a practice skin. So the chances are great that you're gonna see this done in a time-lapse video here in the near future. But there you will have it yet again. If you have any questions, by all means, if I have maybe left out anything important that you may have wanted to know or something like that, go ahead and feel free to drop them in the comments down below. I will do my best to assist you in the best possible direction. I kind of just do these videos on the fly and say and touch base on what I feel is very, very important. So I could miss out on some things that you may have wanted to know. So by all means, feel free to drop those comments down below. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell, because I will be dropping future videos like this, like on the tattoo paper. I'm going to be reviewing everything. I'm going to be reviewing this printer here. and doing it all for you all. And again, my name is Daniel Yuck. Also, follow me on social media. I do have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Daniel Yuck, DanielYuck. I would appreciate that as well. Thank you all very much for tuning in. You'll have a great day.